If you are shopping for 4K gaming right now, ignore the fanboy noise. One side screams just buy Nvidia, and the other side screams AMD value. I do not care about logos. I care about what you get for your money and what you will feel every day when you press play. So here's a practical 4K value battle. RTX 5080 versus RX 9070 XT. Not who wins one benchmark. I mean who makes sense for your games, your monitor, and your whole build. First, set expectations. 4000 is not just about average FPS. 4K is about frame time stability. If the FPS number looks fine, but the game feels jittery, you do not have a slow GPU problem. You have a stability problem. And at 4K, stability depends on upscaling support, RAM headroom, and how hard you push ray tracing. Now let us talk about the two real 4K buckets you will live in. Bucket 1 is 4K raster, ray tracing all for light. High settings, sharp image, stable frame pacing. Most people are here, even if they do not admit it. Bucket 2 is 4K ray tracing. Heavy lighting, reflections, high RT presets. This is where GPUs get humbled fast, and where upscaling becomes the default, not the cheat. If you are in Bucket 1, value and efficiency matter more than marketing. If you are in Bucket 2, the feature stack and RT performance matter more than raw raster charts. Now, do not make this mistake. Both cards can be good at 4000 in totally different ways. The real question is which one fits your goals with less compromise. Let us start with the experience, not the spec sheet. At 4K, you will use an upscaler in modern games, period. If you insist on native 4K Ultra in every game, you are going to chase settings forever, and you will still get spikes. The right way is high settings plus smart tweaks, then pick a clean upscaler mode, then lock a frame target. That means the upscaler ecosystem matters. Nvidia tends to have very strong game support for DLSS features. AMD has its own upscaling path, and it can look great in many titles. But the real-world experience depends on what your top 5 games support. So the first buyer rule is simple. Check your library, not the internet argument. Here's how I would choose if you put both cards on my desk and said, pick one for a normal person. If you play a lot of ray tracing heavy games and you actually want RT on, the RTX 5080 lane is usually the smoother path in supported titles. You will rely on DLSS features to keep the image clean and the frame pacing stable. That is not a moral victory. That is just the reality of how many modern RT implementations perform. If you mostly play raster-heavy games, competitive shooters, or open-world games where you want high settings without obsessing over RT, the RX 9070 XT can be a strong value lane. You get a serious 4K-capable experience with less reliance on the most expensive feature path. It is about what you will actually enable in-game, not what you say you will enable. Now let us talk about power and the hidden cost people forget. A high-end 4K GPU is not just a GPU price. It is the PSU headroom, the case airflow, and the noise profile you live with. If you buy a card that pushes your PSU to the edge, you are inviting random shutdowns, coil whine stress, and hot case air recycling. If you buy a big GPU and keep a bad airflow layout, you will blame the GPU for a case problem. So before you even pick a winner, do this basic sanity check. Do you have strong front intake airflow? Does your case have a real mesh intake, or is it a glass choke box? Do you have space for the GPU to breathe? Is your PSU actually quality, not just a number on a label? Visual. Show a mesh front case versus solid glass front and show intake fans pulling air. Now, the practical 4K setting strategy that makes either card feel better. Start with high preset, not ultra. Ultra often adds a tiny visual improvement for a big performance cost, especially at 4K. Keep textures high if you have VRAM headroom, because textures at 4K matter. Then lower the settings that are expensive and hard to notice. Heavy shadows, volumetrics, and certain RT options. You want to spend performance where it is visible. Then pick an upscaler mode that looks clean on your screen. Do not copy someone else's setting. Your monitor size, viewing distance, and your eyes matter. If you find a mode that keeps details stable in motion and avoids weird ghosting, you found the sweet spot. Then lock a frame target. This is the part most people skip. Unlocked FPS makes your GPU swing power and temperature, which creates fan ramp noise and can create frame pacing instability. A locked 4K 6 or locked 4K 9 often feels smoother than a wild 4K 120 that spikes. Consistency beats ego. Visual. Show a frame time graph with spikes versus a smooth line after an FPS cap. Now, let us compare the two mindsets. The RTX 5080 mindset is, I want the cleanest path for 4K with ray tracing in the games that support Nvidia features well. If that is you, you are paying for the ecosystem and the RT experience. You are also likely okay with higher power draw, and you are willing to tune your build to match. The RX 9070 XT mindset is, I want strong 4K gaming value for high settings raster, with smart upscaling where it is available, and I want the upgrade to be simpler on power and cooling. If that is you, AMD can make a lot of sense, especially if your total build budget matters. Now, let us address the but. Both have 16 gigabytes argument. Yes, 16 gigabytes helps. It reduces the obvious RAM cliffs that cause ugly stutters in some games. But do not treat VRAM like the whole story. The real 4K killers are ray tracing costs, poor optimization, and a platform that cannot keep minimum stable. Your CPU still matters at 4K in many games, especially open worlds and busy city areas. If your GPU usage drops and your CPU is spiking, you are not magically CPU-proof because you are at 4K. That is why some people upgrade to a huge GPU and feel disappointed. The GPU is waiting on the platform. So if you are upgrading for 4K, do not ignore the foundation. 2 sticks of RAM, not 1. Correct memory profile enabled, not slow defaults. A clean Windows setup with less background junk. A stable driver setup, not 10 overlays fighting each other. Visual. Show dual-channel RAM slots, then show a clean overlay with GPU usage and frame time. Now, let me give you 2 real buyer examples, because this is how you decide fast. Example 1. You have a 4060Hz or 4K 120Hz display, but you care more about a stable experience than ultra settings. You play a mix of shooters and open-world games, and you do not care about max RT in every title. You want strong 4K raster with smart upscaling, and you want your upgrade to be clean and not snowball into a PSU and case rebuild. That is a strong argument for the RX 9070 XT lane. Example 2. You want ray tracing on in the big single-player titles. You like the look, and you want the smoothest path in supported games with modern upscaling features. You do not want to fight settings every week, and you are okay investing in a build that can handle higher power and heat. That is where the RTX 5080 lane usually makes more sense. Now, the pro tip that saves you money. Stop buying for average FPS screenshots. Buy for your top 5 games and your target frame rate. The GPU that gives you stable frame times in your library is the real winner. If you want the fastest way to choose for your build, answer 4 questions. What is your monitor resolution and refresh rate? Do you actually use ray tracing or do you turn it off after 2 days? What PSU wattage and model are you running? And what are your top 5 games? Give me that, and I will tell you which card fits with less wasted money. If this video helped you think like a buyer instead of a fanboy, follow and subscribe for more GPU comparisons and real-world PC upgrade advice.